Hello and welcome again to as we continue our committee chair roundtable here with the Missouri Athletic Trainers Association. And we're fortunate today to have the chair of our Political Action Committee, Kyle Blecha, with us. And at this time, Kyle, I'd love it if you would kind of introduce yourself to the folks that are watching this video, talk a little bit about your setting and kind of how long you've been serving in your role as chair of the Political Action Committee.
Thanks, Jay. I'm Kyle Blecha, and I am the coordinator of sports medicine at the University of Missouri Healthcare System, or MU Health. And I've been in this role for approximately about 6 or 7 years. And it's given me a level of understanding and diversity when it comes to the healthcare setting. I've been in the role as the Political Action Committee chair since the summertime, so roughly about 6-7 months. And essentially with this committee, we're aligning ourselves with the same philosophy as well as supporting the roles and responsibilities of the Governmental Affairs Committee.
Okay, great.
As well as aligning with what the direction of the Executive Committee. Probably stop there.
That's fine. I'm sorry, I interrupted you there a little bit. I said, yeah, definitely. You definitely play a pivotal role in collaborating with that GAC and Morgan Simpson, and that was never more evident here than this last year with the changing in our legislation. So we certainly appreciate Morgan's leadership on that, as well as the support of your committee in that as well. So if you could, then you kind of went into that. Could you tell us a little bit more? And I think sometimes people don't understand the difference between the GAC and the PAC, right? Even though they're kind of somewhat intertwined, they are somewhat different. Could you talk a little bit more about what the Political Action Committee is and does, and kind of and really the importance of the work that it does?
You know, where the PAC committee as well as the Governmental Affairs Committee kind of separates itself is when it comes to just with the legislatures, trying to develop relationships with legislatures, trying to develop those relationships so that we can move our efforts forward to positively affect our role as an athletic trainer. Essentially looking at moving forward with any sort of practice act so they understand what an athletic trainer does. And that was really jumbled.
That's all right. You know, it's again, it's one of those things where I think sometimes even as a state association, and then you throw athletic training into that as well, we're such a close-knit group that there does get that blurring of lines in terms of what we do. And when we talk about legislative efforts, whether it's the PAC or if it's the or the GAC or the GAC or even the Executive Committee, you know, we're all working in a close-knit team to again advocate for athletic trainers and making sure that we're working within our full scope and doing what we can to impact our patients, right? So again, appreciate what you do with that. So in that, could you talk a little bit more about why you chose to get involved in a state association leadership and kind of what was your path to this particular committee?
I've had a very good path forward with leaders, not only in the state of Missouri, but also when I lived in the state of Michigan. I would have to say that my relationship with Eric McDonald, when I first moved here back in the early 90s, as well as working and being mentored with Pat Forbes. And Pat Forbes is probably one of those that who was the Governmental Affairs Committee chair, as well as the reimbursement chair when it was not, I think, core, what it is considered now. And so those two individuals were really big influences on my interest into committee involvement.
Yeah.
And I actually had replaced, believe it or not, I actually was an individual who replaced Pat Forbes as the Governmental Affairs Chair back in the late 90s before I had left the state. And so that was my introduction to it. I've kind of always dabbled, even when I was in the state of Michigan, in the governmental affairs. It is probably the more challenging committee to be part of, just because the with the involvement of our association, not only at the state level, but also nationally, it's had its challenges when it's come to essentially advocating for what athletic trainers, who they are, and what their abilities and their capabilities are within a state, as well as how they're perceived and viewed in different work environments. And so, because of that, I think it's always been an interest, and it's always been something where, if I can help, I'm more than willing to help where I can.
Right. And I think you brought up a couple names that have been pretty influential in the state of Missouri, and certainly the athletic training profession as a whole. And I know as I sit on the exec committee now and listen to like past President Fennell talk, and that you talk about the impact that Eric and Pat have had and had on the association are significant. And I think too that I hope the students, as they watch these, or even our peers as athletic trainers, as they watch these roundtable videos, really pick up on how influential it is to have mentors and peers in these roles. And you kind of start off somewhere, right? Whether it's just facilitating and helping those folks, and then along the way you kind of pick it up. So you don't have to have all the expertise of a lobbyist. You just have to have the willingness to help. So
just willingness to want to be part of it, as well as the biggest thing is, as you get further along in your career, is you essentially, I subscribe to the philosophy, you want to leave the place better than when you entered, and that's always been my philosophy along the way. And if it's finding ways I can help, and finding those that have an interest, in to try to get them engaged and involved, because it is very challenging. When you look at the issues we're faced each and every day in our own work environments, to get these different legislators or employers to understand the value that an athletic trainer brings. It's not always a revenue generator. It's sometimes it's that indirect cost that where an athletic trainer plays a vital role in our healthcare system. And I think it's really striving to push that agenda forward. As we look at the aims of healthcare, we look at where is our impact, and it doesn't always have to be in a dollar sign, because the dollar signs come in so many different flavors and colors and likes.
So I guess what you hit on this to a certain extent, and even I prompted it in my last little conversation there with you, but was, if I'm a student or even a young professional that's thinking about getting involved in state association leadership or committee work, can you kind of give them some advice on how they might kind of get started?
I think, one, it's being inquisitive and asking those questions in the classroom. There's a number of athletic training programs where the program director or the clinical coordinators are involved and engaged in the association, and it's attending those. It's inquisitive of what is it they do, as well as getting attending meetings, attending conferences, and getting understand what the lay of the landscape is for the state of affairs in athletic training or in other professions. What is it? What is it? Where does athletic training lie when we talk about this healthcare dilemma we have in this country? What is it athletic trainers can do? What is the impact? When I started in this profession, you really only had two avenues for employment. That was the secondary schools, or it was intercollegiate athletics. And that's expanded over the course of the last 25 years to where there's a lot of settings where athletic trainers have been engaged, involved to expanding their role and responsibilities, where we're seeing all these different emerging work environments that we never really anticipated other than those environments seeing the value of an athletic trainer because they may have engaged with one, whether it was in high school or college or some other setting, and they want a part of that too. And so that's very powerful.
So I guess that pretty much brings us to the conclusion of our interview here today. On behalf of the Missouri Athletic Trainers Association, the Executive Committee, and our 2021 Educators and Student Leadership Conference, I'd like to thank you for your time and your service.
Oh, I appreciate it, and I'll say this, my final statement is, yeah, I've only lived in a couple states. I will say this is the most engaged, involved state association that I've been involved with, and there's been a lot of great leaders in my time I've come across that have been very influential, as you said it before, very influential in our national association, and that's a credit to young people getting involved, and without that, we're just going to be this cycle of this really just not go anywhere, and as a result, it's a pretty fantastic group to be part of.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time, and have a wonderful day. And I hope the students and the future young professionals and leaders out there take some of your advice, and we continue to move that momentum forward. So have a wonderful day.
You too. I appreciate it. Take care.